What is going on, everybody? Welcome to this show. Another Friday, another episode of Why Are We Bullish? We've got an awesome crew joining us this evening. Should be a good conversation. Been a while since I've seen some of these gentlemen, and it's always somewhere on the opposite side of the globe. So good to have them all here digitally with me for the evening. Hope you guys are having a good week as well. Looking a little bullish this week. So we tapped 69K earlier. Nice. So yeah, it's gonna be an interesting weekend and shaping up to be an exciting end of the year. Anyways, this of course is live, and particularly tonight because the entire back end of the program I'm using has changed. Anything can happen, so I defer to my friend Bill here.
We'll do it live.
Okay.
We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. And thing sucks.
If you have not already, please do like, subscribe, share, all those things. They help a ton getting this content in front of more eyeballs. I am Ben with the BTC Sessions. This is your daily session.
HODL the Bitcoin.
All right. And before we dive in, let's take a look at where we are in the market right now. I'm pulling up currently timechain-calendar.com. And currently, we'll do a little swaparoo here. Oh, this is neat. I'm learning as we go. We're sitting at $68,352 per coin. A single US dollar will grab you 1,463 sats. In terms of fees, 7 sats per byte next block. And in terms of Bitcoin mine, 19.76 million of them. That's 94.14% of the total supply. We're going to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, and then we'll get all the gentlemen in here to start getting bullish. So we'll see you in 1 minute. Bitcoin Well is on a mission to enable independence by being one of the easiest and quickest ways to purchase Bitcoin in Canada and the US. The best part about it, every buy goes directly into your own self-custody. They never hold your coins. You can add a Bitcoin address as part of onboarding. There's a transparent 1% spread, no hidden fees, no withdrawal fees. Plus they have KYC free sells and bill payments on their website. They're also a publicly traded company under the ticker BTCW on the TSXV. Check them out over at bitcoinwell.com. Check out my full tutorial on how to use them, and you can check out the links in the show notes down below and sign up today. Speed is one of the fastest growing Bitcoin Lightning wallets out there. It is a fast and secure way to send and receive Bitcoin and stablecoin payments instantly. You can even swap between Bitcoin and stablecoins directly in the app. Also in the app, you can buy gift cards for all the best brands and earn rewards in the process. To download Speed, simply scan the QR code on the screen, click the links in the show notes down below, and use code BTCSessions10 to get 5,000 sats for free. All right, we are back in, and it's time to bring in our guests. So I want to welcome Brandon, Avi, and Jon to the show. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me. It's a bullish bunch, and maybe what we'll do first is we'll do a quick round of intros so that anybody that's unfamiliar can get to know you guys. So Brandon, I'm going to toss it to you first. Welcome. Can you give yourself a quick intro?
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I'm Brandon of Green Candle. I'm building, the Green Candle media company. I like to describe it as the barstool of Bitcoin and finance. So catch me over there.
Hell yeah. Well, glad to have you. When's the last time I saw you? Was it like Miami, or I don't know?
It might have been. It's been, or maybe in Montreal.
Yeah. The Montreal Bitcoin conference last year.
Yep.
Yeah. That was a good time. I enjoyed that one. That was fun. Or earlier this year? God.
Yeah. It was in March. I want to say.
It's a blur for me, but yes, I was in Montreal for that, and it was a good time. So yeah, man. Anyways, glad to have you, and we'll jump down to Avi as well. Avi, it's been some time. Last time I saw you. We were having delicious steaks or cigars or whiskeys or all of the above, depending on the evening. So, how are you doing? Give yourself an intro.
Yeah, nice to see you guys. Can't think of a better way of spending a Friday evening than with these fine gents. Yeah, look, Avi Burra. I'm the author of the first book of fiction, first long form book of fiction on Bitcoin. It's called 24. Ben's holding it up. Thank you, Ben. Host of a Bitcoin and Nostr focused podcast called Plebchain Radio. Usually air at this time, Ben, but since you asked me to be here, we recorded a little earlier today. And recently, this is breaking some news for some folks here, launching a US healthcare data company that's going to be focused on Nostr and Bitcoin. So we're going to deal with the data interoperability on Nostr and then bring Bitcoin payments as a result of that. It's called Nos Fabrica.
Nice. I love it, man. That's awesome. That's all. I feel a little bad that I like roll over top of your regular show. Maybe I need to examine that a little bit and not screw with that. Well, that's awesome. Well, I'm glad to have you here, man. And anybody who hasn't checked it out, go check out the book. It's awesome. We need more Bitcoin fiction out there. It's too few and far between from what I've seen so far, but it's picking up. So yeah. We'll toss it to Jon. Jon, good to see you. Last time I saw you, I think would have been El Salvador, and you had me jump in an ice bath. I had a very poor showing. I think, or wait, did I see you somewhere else?
Riga. We were in Latvia together.
Oh yes. Yeah. We were just, man, we were in Riga together, and that was a good time too. We were hanging out at a bit of a beefsteak. So steak is a common theme, I suppose. Give yourself an intro for anybody unfamiliar.
Yeah, I'm Jon Chenot. For those of you guys who don't know me, just been involved in the Bitcoin space for a few years. Started just hosting meetups and hosting my own podcast that's been in remission that is yet to be kickstarted. I've got some episodes in the back burner ready to launch a new season here. But yeah, really passionate about bringing people together in person, building the social layer of Bitcoin, and doing that now through these smaller private retreats, adventures, excursions, whatever you want to call them, in various parts of the world, where we gather a small group of, like-minded Bitcoiners, entrepreneurs, digital nomads, and we explore a new part of the country and combine it with activities like surfing, and all kinds of different adventures, sailing, and ATV tours, everything like that. So citadeltheory.com is my website, and that's kind of the idea. We're building the foundation of the future Bitcoin citadels by building out that community.
Hell yeah, that's all. Were you doing one of these when you were in El Salvador? Because I came by and you had the group going there at that house, right?
Yeah, that was our first experience that I did officially. I've done a lot of these like gatherings, just kind of getting a group chat together and being like, hey, we're going to Brazil, we're going to Florianopolis, we're going to do this, and then kind of throwing everything together. But this was kind of the first official retreat that we did in El Zante. And yeah, we just had a beautiful week there, surfed every morning, got up at sunrise, did yoga. All the meals and everything were prepared for us. And then we had these great, what I loved about that event was our masterminds, where we just got together in the afternoon and talked about life. We talked about everything from like our social lives, dating and relationships, to business and lifestyle design, kind of what our goals are, and then health and wellness as well. So kind of bringing that like trifecta of like, all right, we get the money, Bitcoin's the best money. All right, we got it. But what about our health? What about our wellness? What about all the other aspects of our life that we want to improve?
I love that. I love the again, Bitcoin spurs you into bettering yourself over time as well. I think for the ultra curious, the people that kind of learn to be more financially responsible because of it, it can reach out to other parts of your life if you let it, and it sparks a curious mind, and you question a lot of your previous habits. So yeah, that's super awesome. Well, gents, we're gonna dive right into it. Everybody that's here, that's watching, already 600 and some odd people tuning in. So everybody, welcome. We are doing a show called Why Are We Bullish? Really simple premise. Each one of us has come with a reason for being bullish in and around Bitcoin. And the flow of the show is super simple. Somebody's going to, number one, drop their reason for being bullish. That's their chance to rant on whatever is top of mind to them. Number two, altogether, we're going to riff on it, just comments, questions, whatever rabbit holes we decide to go down. And finally, number three, we're going to rotate to the next person until we've all had a turn. So reason, riff, rotate, nice and simple. And also, if you've got commentary, color commentary, as we go on, feel free to drop it in the live chat, and I'll try to bring it up if I see something that is relevant to the conversation. I will, of course, let Yellow celebrate a little bit. 58K gang is gone. The meme war has been won. We can fly now. You are welcome. So congratulations, Yellow. We'll see how soon you are free from the hell that is streaming every single day for your Don't Stop Believing. But with that, I'm going to kick us off with my reason for being bullish. I'll try and keep it short and sweet, but I've got a visual accompaniment that I wouldn't mind adding in here. And it's going to seem negative at first, but I'm going to kind of let you know my line of thinking as to why I think this is bullish. And this is in and around Italy. They are planning to raise Bitcoin capital gains taxes from 26% to 42%. Now, that's obviously not very bullish being there and staying there, but I think what it spurs on is bullish. And what that spurs on, in my opinion, is a little bit of what a number of Bitcoiners have read about in a book called The Sovereign Individual. So that sovereign individual thesis is that in a more and more digitized world, people will begin to go where they're treated best, and not just go where they're treated best, but take their capital with them. And with the legacy financial system, there were a lot more barriers to that. But with Bitcoin, there's obviously hoops to be jumped through in terms of legality. But I also think that when you get instances like this, maybe that are like shotgun quick changes before people can adjust, you're going to have people step around those things. And the technology itself can't differentiate where you're holding your keys or where you have access to it. Bitcoin is not beholden to any one jurisdiction. It just is. And so I think we're going to start to see, and we've already seen it prior to Bitcoin. We've seen kind of, the nomad capitalist ideology, hey, flag theory, I'm going to go where I'm treated best and everything. But there's a lot of stuff to deal with that in terms of moving capital. That is on its way out. And you're also seeing, on the flip side of things, jurisdictions taking the opposite end of the spectrum here too. Of course, we have El Salvador, where legal tender, capital gains are non-existent. It's just a currency. You're also seeing little moves from different jurisdictions. Like I'll bring up one really quick here, but this isn't that long ago, just a couple of days ago, or a few days ago, I guess this was. But United Arab Emirates introduces a VAT exemption, or value-added tax exemption, for, Bitcoin, but crypto transfers and conversions. So I think what you're going to start to see is you're going to see the jurisdictions that have a lot to lose getting more defensive, and the jurisdictions that don't have as much to lose being welcoming and saying, hey, we're not going to tax the shit out of you. Come here, be productive, And if there are taxes, they'll be small and transparent. And this is what you're going to get. They're going to start treating their constituents like customers rather than servants. And to me, that's super bullish. And it's not going to happen all overnight, but we're seeing the beginnings of it. And I think that's pretty exciting. So I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts. Whoever wants to dive in, whoever has some thoughts in and around, or comments or questions or rabbit holes to go down, just dive in. Go ahead.
Yeah, I guess I'll shoot it off here. I mean, we did see a lot of this already, with, in 2020, right? We saw, I mean, in America alone, we saw people moving from, blue states primarily to red states. So, obviously we saw a lot of things happen in your home country of Canada as well during that time, Ben, which I'm sure you're very familiar with. So a lot of people are, obviously voting with their feet in a sense, right? I mean, I know Jack Mallers moved Strike's headquarters down to El Salvador, and I'm sure a lot of other companies will start to do that. They'll go where the incentives lie. I mean, the U.S. became a world power by being very friendly to the entrepreneur, and allowing a lot of companies to come in and being very advantageous there. Now, like you mentioned, with the digital age, you could essentially bring a company anywhere. So, the more places that make it difficult for a company to start, make it very tax heavy and tax incentive, people are just going to start to move away. There is going to be some things that hold people back, maybe families, other, personal circumstances. But I think, as things are growing, we're going to see a lot more people voting with their feet. And, I think this is just a move that Italy is going to make that's, essentially going to shoot them in the foot over a long period of time. So, I agree with you. Maybe in the short term, it's not necessarily bullish, but in the long term, it will bring people to more of, a friendly jurisdiction to Bitcoin and other things like that. So, once Italy sees and other countries see how people are reacting to this change in Italy, other countries will be more tentative when it comes to, making some laws that are maybe tax heavy or negative to the Bitcoin industry.
Yeah. Bitcoin is a dissident technology, right? I'd be worried if a government got too friendly with Bitcoin holders. And so in a sense, I actually view this even short term as a bullish thing. There's obviously the voting with their feet thing that Brandon said that's going to happen, and countries are going to find out the hard way. But I think over the long term, the best outcome for Bitcoin is if countries realize there's absolutely nothing they can do about it, and they just step out of the way, not get friendly, because that to me would be a worrying sign. We just step out of the way.
I like that. John, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I think I agree with you that it is playing out kind of like a lot like we imagined and what the sovereign individual kind of thesis laid out. Like you have the Luddites, the countries and the groups of people who are going to be resistant to the change and want to continue to rent seek. They're going to want to continue to maintain the status quo because they're benefiting from the status quo, and it's an existential risk for them. So in the meantime, you see countries like El Salvador just stacking the shit out of Bitcoin, and also countries like Argentina, where we're heading actually next week for one of our experiences. And the reason we're going there is because, well, for one, it's just a beautiful country and it's overlooked in a lot of ways as just this amazing and to explore. But you have, for one, a people group who are tired of all of the socialist BS being shoved down their throat and of the monetary destruction that they've experienced over the past tens of years, decades and decades of it. Like, you can talk to Ariel, my buddy, and he carries with him all of the copies of their currency that have been devalued from like 1,001, 1,001, 1,001, like over and over and over again. And so when you have these types of movements, and you have Javier Milei, who's coming into that country and bringing a fresh wind of a new movement towards freedom and towards open markets and actually initiating some change. So the beautiful thing is, it is a big wide world, and the countries and the communities that are unfriendly to Bitcoin, unfriendly to actual freedom, unfortunately, they're just digging their own graves, because we do have options, and we have the winning hand. Bitcoin is the best monetary asset. It's actually going to function that way, so we can take it with us wherever we want, and treat and then go to the jurisdictions where we're treated the best.
Yeah. It's I do like seeing, and I'll admit that I haven't kept up with everything Malay related, but he does seem to lean heavy into the free market kind of like, let's privatize, let's allow the free market to do its thing, let's get out of the way. And I love the exchange going on in the chat right now. C Funk, as Ja Rule famously said, "Move, bitch, get out of the way." Of course, Brandon had to jump in, and we couldn't let it slide. Ja Rule does not deserve the credit there. It was, of course, ludicrous, but nonetheless, great lyric. But either way, yeah, I mean, it's all around. I think that regardless of the direction individual countries go in the interim, in the end, it ends with a much freer world as a whole, and not because of the governments, but because the governments must now react to the fact that we have censorship resistant global money that can't be easily frozen or stopped. And that's a huge development. So we'll see. We get to live through it playing out as we speak. So that's an exciting thing. So I'm going to put a bow on my topic here. I don't want to spend too much time on it, and I want to get to you guys. So we're going to do a rotation here. Actually, Brandon, I'm going to toss it to you first. I'll cue you up with the same question that everybody gets. And why are you bullish?
All right. Well, yeah, great to lead it off here. But, last time we saw quantitative easing in 2020, we saw $4.3 trillion worth of liquidity injected into the market, and it was disguised as the quote unquote COVID relief package. Well, this occurred, like I said, in March of 2020. And since then, we saw a big effect of the Bitcoin price action, with the Bitcoin price nearly doubling in less than 3 months, and then going all the way up to 60K within about a year. Now we're seeing interest rates cut for the first time, and it's not just a small cut, it's a 50 basis point cut. Here at the beginning, we even had Senator Warren calling for a 75 basis point cut, because the economy isn't as good as they're really selling it if you peek underneath the hood. So to me, it smells like there's massive amounts of QE that are upon us, and the government is now addicted to that money printer. So, last time I said we had QE, it went from 4 to 60. That was a 15x jump in a year. This time we're seeing it was at 63 to 64K at the time of the rate cut, and more cuts are ahead in the coming months, and who knows how the economy will react in all of that. So, money printing is seemingly a necessity at this point to keep our economy from breaking. And on top of that, what's the major difference on this time around? We've got the Bitcoin ETFs ripping and rolling with $2.1 billion. Yes, that's billion with a B for the kids at home of net inflows in the past week alone. We've seen El Salvador stacking a Bitcoin a day and continuing to double down, as well as getting, Bukele reelected. So that's going to continue, and El Salvador is going to prosper. We've got Maya, a presidential candidate in Suriname, running on the backs of a Bitcoin policy. We've got the Kingdom of Bhutan making waves with massive amount of Bitcoin mining operation. And we also had Donald Trump, the leading U.S. presidential candidate, on stage, getting on the Bitcoin train, joining the Bitcoin conference. So with all this, we have traditional finance, we have countries now getting into Bitcoin, and QE potentially upon us, which means more inflation, the money printer going. I'm seeing the potential of a huge Bitcoin price jump And if history repeats itself, you know, the 16x or 15x jump of where we're at is closing in on 1 million per coin. So, I mean, with all that being said, these macro factors, the massive amounts of inflation that we could potentially see here, could be good for Bitcoin. Obviously, it would be a little scary in the dollar terms, but I think everything is going to start to accelerate here. And yeah, how can you not be bullish with all this going on?
I love what you said in regards to you know, the stats being completely misreported in terms of official inflation and, you know, how's the economy doing and all the jobs numbers and everything, and all of that shit is just so cooked and often revised months later, right? Like the jobs reports, it's always like, oh, we created X number of jobs, and that's just a guess. And then later on, they're like, oh, whoops, like 100,000 here, a couple 100,000 here. Turns out they didn't actually exist, but like that's just kind of snuck in after it's already been reported as some sort of miracle. All the numbers, like, do you have any faith in any numbers that ever come out anymore?
How could you? I mean, it's ridiculous. Yeah, they had the biggest jobs revision in history a couple months ago. So, you know, like you said, everything is just reported. I mean, if you look at the inflationary numbers of, you know, what we used to measure CPI in, you know, I think in 1980, it peaked at 16%, but, you know, we only reported about a 9.2, I believe, percentage of CPI. So, I mean, like, you know, even then, if you look at how they're calculating the numbers, everything's changing. They're just going to keep kicking the can down the road. They said, you know, a recession is multiple quarters with negative GDP growth. Then they changed the definition of a recession. So they're just going to keep moving it. And this whole facade is just going to keep going on until people start waking up. And, you know, I think on the positive note, I think a lot of people are starting to wake up. And that's why we're seeing more and more people get into Bitcoin on a daily basis. And, you know, like I said, traditional finance and other, you know, countries now, people are running on that. So, you know, I think they're realizing the true power of Bitcoin. And yeah, it's just a matter of time at this point.
Yeah. I'd echo that. It is again, I guess, harkening back to my topic, this is something that was discussed in Sovereign Individual too, which is a complete dissolution of trust in institutions. And it's also outlined in the fourth turning. But it's just, you know, people no longer trust what they're being told because it's blatantly false at some point. Like the desperation of our previously trusted institutions to maintain relevancy and power is being completely undone. Like I've not seen this much distrust in everything from news organizations to health organizations to official government numbers to all of these things. Like nobody buys any of it, or if they do, it's not because they have done any actual looking into where the numbers came from. It's just, this is my team and I'm going to agree with them at this point in time because I like this team, or I'm team red or I'm team blue. It is whatever it is. But that's kind of all dissolving. Avi, I want to get your thoughts here as well. Like, are you seeing kind of this dissolution in trust? Like, how are you looking at where we're heading with, I don't know, just like the continuation of clown world as we've seen it so far?
Oh, there's a complete disillusionment, right? And I don't know if you guys saw this. The FBI released some crime numbers, some revised crime numbers. So their earlier numbers had crime going down. And I think months later, I don't know if this is a nationwide thing in the US or specific to a certain state, but it's actually way up. So it's complete clown world. They create the sense of, and you know, you have to wonder, especially when these things happen close to an election with stuff like job numbers, right? Are they inflating the job numbers to make a certain candidate look good or the incumbent look good? And then once everything's over, they revise it back down. Same thing goes with all these other numbers as well, whether it's crime, health stats, and so on. So yeah, I don't trust a single thing I see from official news sources from the government. I just keep stacking, man. Keep stacking and keep building.
That I'm glad you brought up that crime report. It's hilarious how wrong it was. I have it here. I'm gonna pull it up. It's stealth edit. FBI quietly revises violent crime stats. So this for 2022. In September 23, it reported that the nation's violent crime rate fell by 2.1%. They've quietly revised those numbers that it actually increased by 4.5%. So basically off by 50%, and then also in the opposite direction. So like they were just so wrong. And the number wasn't even close. Like basically 6% off to a point where violent crime is actually rising. What was the other bit of it that was particularly interesting? Oh yeah, it was the number. It was the number of murders that they omitted, because every murder is of course reported. They just missed. Yeah, there we go. The FBI underreported almost 1,700 murders that they're like, whoops, I missed those. Weird. So yeah, like that, the number again, people just, why would you believe any numbers that you read from an official source? It's crazy.
And the best part of this whole FBI thing, it was a stealth edit. They didn't put their hand up and said mea culpa, we made a mistake. Nothing. They edited it. I think someone had to dig it up, and they found this.
It's wild. It's crazy. John, I'm curious your thoughts here as well. You don't strike me as somebody who will just take the trust me bro route. What's your reaction to Clown World? Is it in
CNN in the background? Just like they tell me what to do, right?
That's the best source.
My curve, we're good. As long as we do what they say, everything goes smoothly.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, man, it's ridiculous. It's interesting as well. Kind of going. I've been traveling a lot this year, and it's been interesting to see where certain biases and how kind of the media shapes people's perspectives of the world in different places in different parts of the world, and how you might have the U.S. right think is a certain way, and people are kind of acting and thinking about things in that groupthink way. But then in Europe, you've got kind of another perspective, and you've got like all the yeah. So it's a big mess. But like I think the good news is that like the truth is kind of getting out there, and with the internet, with interconnectivity, thankfully Twitter is still, or X is still somewhat, free environment where people can, there's kind of a free flow of information. So that's able to be maintained for now. And I'm really hopeful with Nostr and a lot of the things being developed there. We were at Nostr Riga in Latvia, and it's incredible what we're able to build with this distributed communications protocol that's going to be able to replace pretty much everything on the web. We're going to be able to host on distributed servers, and so there's going to be no way for them really to censor us. So I think that like the free flow of information, and then Bitcoin connected to that, is helping us to sift through the massive amount of information. So like the internet connects humans on a information level. It's like taking all the synapses, all of us are connected to the phones and constantly sharing and reviewing information. And so all of us are like plugged into that network. But then with all of that connectivity comes the difficulty of like sifting through, well, okay, then with all this information, what's the most important thing to focus on? Like what is the best thing that's happening right now? Or what's the most important thing for me to focus on? And best thing I could be working on. So Bitcoin, I think, connected to the internet is helping us solve for that value judgment layer. It's like adding on that missing element to the information layer, so that we're able to see where the actual value is going, and now they can move freely through Bitcoin and Lightning and all the great things we're working on. So yeah, I guess trust the science and trust the experts. That's my final word. Just
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah, I often try to just trust. Whatever you do, the key takeaway is don't ever do your own research. Never. That's a very important lesson to learn. I'm glad that you brought up Nostr also as like a solid method of communication, a social protocol where people can kind of escape the draconian top-down like controls on speech. And I want to actually give a shout out to anybody that's watching the Nostr live stream right now. The chat's been going. There's been some zaps happening and everything like that. So shout out to all of the Nostrages over there that are tuning in right at this very moment. It's awesome to see. And actually, side note on the Nostr versus legacy media, there was a time, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, like obviously the size of the audience over on Nostr, just in terms of sheer number of users that are on that on that protocol versus like centralized platforms right now, is small. But what I will say is at one point in the past couple of weeks, I actually had in one instance number of Nostr viewers live surpassed number of live YouTube viewers because of partly because YouTube sometimes throttles my videos depending on the content, whereas Nostr is just, there is no algo. There is no almighty algo to define what is hot and what is not, and what is worthy of listening to and what is not. And so that was very interesting to see. And so I really hope to see that pick up more, where more people start streaming directly to Nostr, and gradually, like if that was started to become the case, where it's tough right now because I want to educate people, and part of that is reaching out to people that aren't currently already down the rabbit hole as far as even finding Nostr. So I'm in a way I kind of have to remain exposed to these legacy platforms, but I do think it's worth kind of maybe having some content that just goes there, that is exclusive to this new protocol that I think is more important than these legacy platforms. And yeah, so anyways, if anybody happens to watch this on a legacy, on X or on YouTube or something like that, I encourage you to make the leap and give it a try. And it's early days, but the speed of innovation that's happening over on Nostr, and the promise just of not having to be beholden to anybody is so important in the world that we're living in right now, as it's just constant bullshit information being fed to us. And if you try to call it out, back to Brandon's point of everything being cooked and all of the information being bad, and the governments and news agencies flailing because shit's going bad and they got to make it look good. If you want to avoid that, and you don't want to be penalized for calling it out when you see it, then examine Nostr. Go and check it out. I think it's well worth it. So with that, Brandon, do you have any other final thoughts that you want to get off your chest before I put a bow on this topic here?
No, that was great, man. I appreciate all you guys' points and everything. So I think we could put on a bow on this one.
Awesome. All right. Well, then in that case, first off, thanks for the topic. And we are going to do another rotation. Before we do, I'm going to do a quick shout out to our sponsors. And when we come back, actually, we're going to give away some free sats. So everybody watching, get those Lightning wallets ready. Get ready to scan some QR codes. And we'll be back momentarily. So we'll see you in about a minute here. So cheers. CoinKite.com has some of the best hardware on the market today to secure your Bitcoin. The Cold Card Q is an absolute powerhouse and is my daily driver. And on top of this, they have plenty of other goodies, including the Mark IV, the Tap Signer, Open Dimes, the Block Clock, and much more. If you head over to their website, make sure you use code btcsessions at checkout to get a nice discount. Links are in the show notes down below. DEBIFI.com allows you to borrow against your Bitcoin in a non-custodial way. Collateral is held in a 3 of 4 distributed multi-sig with trusted parties. It provides institutional liquidity providers, loan periods of up to 5 years with flexible conditions and the best rates. And best of all, no rehypothecation of your funds. If you want to check them out today, head over to DEBIFI.com or hit the link in the show notes down below. Keeper is a fully open source Bitcoin app created to help you stack sats long term. Easily use your hardware devices or assisted keys to create multisig wallets and plan your inheritance. Head over to bitcoinkeeper.app to download the app and use code btcsessions30 to get a 30% discount on your first subscription. All right, we are back in and we're going to give away some sats before we dive into our next topic here. So I'm pulling up, this is bitcoinwell.com. If you're unfamiliar, they're in Canada and the US. Great spot to be stacking sats if you're so inclined. But basically the way it works is when you do sign up, you earn points. When you buy Bitcoin, you earn points. When you refer friends, you earn points. And those points can be used to toss coins into the Bitcoin wishing well. And when you do, you have the chance to win somewhere between 500 and a million sats. And so basically what we're going to do is we're going to hit play now. We're going to toss a coin in the well. And if you got a Lightning wallet handy, the first person to scan the QR code will be rewarded with 500 sats right now. So get scanning and redeem those sats. Yesterday we had 2,100 sats. A week and a half, 2 weeks ago, 210,000 sats was the reward. I haven't seen a million yet, but one of these days we'll do it, and it had better be during a live stream. That'd be pretty awesome. But congrats to whoever gets to snag those sats. And I will say one other way to earn some additional sats. If you're unfamiliar, I put together a team over at Bitcoin Mentor. Awesome people to help educate. I'd say a mix of people, any Bitcoiners that maybe feel like they're in the Bitcoin Luddite stage. You've learned like a couple of things and then you've stayed still and haven't learned anything new in a long time. And you're no longer sure how secure your setup is. Obviously, we can help people out like that. But a lot of you watching this are very familiar with Bitcoin. You've run the gamut. Maybe you've got your hardware. Maybe you're doing multisig, whatever. But you're going to have lots of friends and family that are going to be very curious as price continues to inch up, as it will. But if you want to point them towards a group of professional educators that can help them in their journey, and you also want to earn sats in the process, then you can become a Bitcoin Mentor affiliate. There's a QR code on the screen. You can scan that and sign up to become an affiliate. And then every time you share your link, every time in perpetuity, when somebody books a single session through your link, you will earn $21. So not just the first time that they do anything, but like every time they book a session, you get $21 and it gets paid out in Bitcoin at the end of every month. So if that sounds interesting to you, then please do scan the QR code, sign up. We'd love to have you. And we'd love to also educate those around you. And I'll show the QR code at the end of the episode as well, if you're curious. Anyways, with that, enough of my rambling. I'll get this off the screen here. And we're going to do a rotation. Avi, I'm looking at you. I'm going to cue you up with the same question everybody gets. Why are you bullish?
So I started off being super bullish, and then I heard Brandon and John's intros about what they do. By the way, nice meeting you guys, both of you, for the first time. And I became even more bullish, and I'll tell you why. So, well, take a step back, Ben, and what I think what a lot of us want is for the vast majority of the world to adopt Bitcoin, right? I mean, I think that's how we win. If as many people in the world use Bitcoin, not just as a store of value, but as a medium of exchange, right? That's how this revolution is successful. If not, if you don't get that, then we've just had some really good steaks and cigars at conferences, and that's fine. And what I'm seeing until now, right, a lot of people take the view that have taken the view that number go up is the main way of getting people in. And yes, maybe, but I don't think that is the stickiest form of adoption. People come in, it brings in, if we pump to 200, 250, 300, right, this cycle, it will bring people in, right? But I don't know how sticky that's going to be. Maybe some of them will stay and learn. But what really is sticky is if there are applications that are solving real problems, either on Bitcoin or Bitcoin adjacent protocols like Nostr, right? Or if there's some kind of, if people are having fun, right? If there's something like what Brandon's doing with the studio, or what Jon's doing with self-improvement, right? That's the sort of thing where you make that emotional connection with people that keeps people when they do come in, right? And so that's one of the reasons why I wrote my book, Ben, right? It's like a hero's journey about a young man trying to find his dead father's secret and understand his relationship better, but in the process becoming a Bitcoin maximalist, right? It was try to bring people in through that emotional story. It's another reason why I'm building Nos Fabrica, which is it solves a real world problem about giving patients complete sovereignty and autonomy over their health data and decisions and price transparency. And that, and Bitcoin's right there, right? They're searching for care, they find the price they can, pay in Lightning and get the care there. So we're seeing a lot more attempts at stickier adoption. A lot of people are recognizing that. A lot of people are recognizing, on a related note, that Nostr is not just a social media protocol, right? It is a communications protocol. It's a way of relaying signed events. And it just so happens that social media is the easiest expression of relaying signed events. But it's so much more. It can be healthcare data, it could be records, right, credentials, and so on. I mean, the list is, you can re-architect the entire application layer of the internet using Nostr, and Bitcoin is right there, right? The LN URL is part of your profile metadata in Nostr. So this makes me really bullish because we're moving into a paradigm of much stickier adoption.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, again, Bitcoin gets its tendrils into everything and begins to affect everything around it. And if it's no wonder that Nostr came from the mind of a Bitcoiner. It's no wonder that those things have begun to kind of grow in parallel of each other. I think you're right. Like, it's not just the number go up. There's so much more to it. And I mean, even to earlier conversations, just like off the intros, talking with Jon, like the self-improvement aspect of it, like that becomes a piece of it. The relationships, the everything. It's an exciting time, but I don't want to step over other people's thoughts here. Maybe Jon, if I can maybe toss it towards you first, if you have thoughts on what Avi just said, and then I'll go to Brandon after.
Yeah. I think Avi and I should definitely share a cigar sometime and go deep into this, because we're definitely on the same wavelength. A lot of my thought in this, I guess one thing that comes to mind is we, like you said, we're really focused on Bitcoin adoption, right? We want to advance Bitcoin knowledge. We want as many people to be a part of this thing as possible, because then, numbers go up. We've got more friends involved. We're advancing the economy and just human betterment in all these different ways. And up until this point, the majority of Bitcoin adoption efforts have been information based, and that's why I love your narrative book, and I'm really excited to dig into it. It's because we are multi-dimensional creatures. We're not just information based. We're social beings. We adopt beliefs primarily through stories and narratives and social connection, and through observing social status and as well, like and so yeah, behavior, the way that we actually change people's behavior, unfortunately it's like it's a small percentage of that is going to come from getting the right information to people. And so we've got like such great information, and Ben, your podcasts and your resources online have just provided such a well full of like proper methodology when it comes to ownership and just giving people that right framework of how to self custody and that it is approachable and everything. But I think as we move into this new era where, all right, everyone kind of knows about Bitcoin now, and we've got a wealth full of educational resources that are kind of pointing people in the right direction, to really move the adoption needle. And it's going to take us as enthusiasts of Bitcoin and advocates. It's going to take us elevating our own lives and setting the example for others to follow of what it actually means, how Bitcoin can actually change your life and provide an incredible life of freedom. I talk a lot about Citadel theory, and what we have, like the citadels of the Middle Ages were these massive, beautiful structures that stood up on the mountains for all to see, right? They weren't, some of them, maybe they had fortified hidden structures under the mountains, but those were like backup plans. But they were signs of strength, and they were things that were in front of everyone and in front of all the community and the military and the enemies. So I see Bitcoin as like, yeah, we have this amazing stronghold of wealth. And if we're going to represent that well to the world, I believe that we should be kind of showing the freedom, not hiding and like creating this like hidden backup plan, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean it's instructive, right? By kind of showing the world that one way of living can improve a lot of things for the individual. I think yes, there's going to be some people that come at that negatively, but I think more often than not, there will also be people that say, "Huh, there's this group of people that has been flourishing in the midst of this mess of crap that is clown world. I wonder what they know. I wonder what they're doing that I'm not doing. Maybe I can do some of that." And self-preservation is a hell of a mechanism to encourage somebody to change what they're doing, right? People are much more likely to act in order to not lose something they already have than to gain something that they never had. And so when shit hits the fan and people start not being able to afford life and things start deteriorating and they, their savings are worth nothing and they're actively losing things, then that spurs them into action. And, they're going to look somewhere for, how do I avoid this? How do I save what I already have? And, when there's an open example of that, they'll hopefully gravitate towards it and learn from it, right?
Yeah, 100%. And just to tap on the end of that, like, I guess where I was going with this, I lost my train of thought a little bit, but like we're you know, we have the arc, we're building the arc, and this lifeboat is saving us from the rising tides of inflation, of monetary debasement and everything. And I like that analogy, but it's not just a lifeboat, it's like also a party boat at the same time. Like Bitcoiners are the ones who are thriving. We have like the jacuzzi on there, we've got the party going, we've got like music. And so like people are going to be motivated not just by the doom and gloom, but also by, listen, this is like a bright future that we have before us, and we want to continue to build and cultivate Western civilization into the future. And this is what is going to enable us to do that. And we're starting now by creating extremely beautiful lives for ourselves and really dynamic, loving communities of people where our families can thrive, where our kids can grow up and not be indoctrinated by questionable values in the state indoctrination camps, and you know, we can just like live our lives in great freedom. So that's
I like it.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. I want to toss it right over to Brandon as well and get his thoughts here. Either like stemming from what Jon just said, or even harkening back to kind of the what will be the sticky factor to keep people around in the coming cycle, like what keeps people around. So yeah, any thoughts that you have, wherever you want to take it.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, you know, I think a lot of what people have been seeing is that they've been being lied to, whether it's, you know, governmental data, kind of like we riffed on a little bit earlier, you know, the Twitter files coming out, you know, when Elon bought Twitter, now X. I feel like that was kind of the spur to Nostr. And, you know, what I'm realizing is a lot of my normie friends here in town in Tampa and Florida are starting to wake up to the fact that they've been lied to about other things as well. You know, I mean, we're big on the carnivore diets here in the Bitcoin community. I have a lot of friends that are just workout junkies that have gone to that themselves and have realized, hey, I want to go to a farmer and get, you know, meat straight from a farmer, and I don't want to go to the grocery store because they have all these, you know, pesticides and other things like that in there. And they're starting to realize the same with social media, all the algorithms, you know, kind of manipulating them and other things like that. So they're looking for other solutions like that there. They're just not really realizing that it's really based on like the monetary incentives of the fiat system just yet. But they're just there, right? They're like 95% of the way to Bitcoin, but they just haven't realized that, you know, fix the money, fix the world. So I think, you know, with all these things that we're seeing, you know, obviously negative in the short term, I think, you know, as Jon does with the Citadel theory and kind of like lining all those things out, you know, the 15-minute cities that they're trying to build in a lot of these places, I feel like a lot of people are becoming very resistant to that. And they're looking for ways to become healthier, become, you know, more of the sovereign individual, as Ben kind of put it a little bit earlier. So I think, you know, everything kind of, we think in Bitcoin, it's Bitcoin first. But I'm realizing, you know, maybe some other people might come into Bitcoin through other means now, maybe more of the freedom side of technology or freedom side of just being more of an individual, and then kind of get to Bitcoin because they realize, hey, you know, all these Bitcoiners, these crazy group of people are all aligned with everything that I've been thinking. Maybe I need to look into this Bitcoin thing now. So, yeah, I think there's just so many tangential things to Bitcoin now that, you know, when I first got into it, I never really would have thought it took me down this rabbit hole, but it really has. And I think, you know, people are going to be coming at it from so many different angles. And I think that's the beauty of Bitcoin in this cycle.
Yeah, you're right. There's people coming in from all sides. There's people coming in for a lot of different reasons outside of the typical Western number go up reasoning. People are coming to it from I mean, we even just with the Bitcoin Mentor team, they do spaces 3 times a week, and we just had Dr. Sean Baker on in the same realm as the carnivore stuff, and he was talking Bitcoin. So like people in a lot of different walks of life are coming across it, and again, also not for like he was talking about just ethos wise and kind of the proof of work and doing things efficiently and that kind of ethos. He's like that kind of lines up with who I was as a person already. And so that kind of spoke to him as he was describing that. But I mean, we get people coming in. I work from with the Human Rights Foundation a lot. We get a lot of political dissidents that are coming in, not for number go up necessarily, unless they're in hyperinflation, but more so from the censorship resistant side of things. You get people from all over the globe, and Bitcoin is more of a mirror than anything. It will reflect back at you kind of where you're at in life and what you currently need. And it can benefit people in a lot of different ways, but like it really depends on what you currently need. And I've come across people that have come to it because of censorship resistance and freedom, and then not even knowing that it's capped supply and can also help with hyperinflation. And that was, you know, a total mindfuck to me to you know, coming from a Western country where most people's initial foray into it is, oh, I saw that the price went up a bunch and now I'm curious. That's not everybody's first exposure. And so people then stick around for different reasons. So Avi, I'll give you the last word on this topic. Any other thing like with the rabbit holes that we ended up segueing down that you wanted to tag in here before we put a bow on it?
So I'll bring it back and summarize it with a simple framework. This is how I like to think about how we all play our part in this revolution, right? So there's 3 layers to it. One is the protocol layer, right? That's Bitcoin, that's Nostr, that's Lightning, potentially Arc, right? And you have the builders there and the goal of the protocol layer really is to ensure that we have a strong foundation for this sound money and the censorship resistant, not just money, but information space, right? But that's where Nostr comes in. So that's the base layer. On top of that, you have the application layer, where people build the tools that allow the public, right, the broader public, to access the benefits of the sound foundation. Right? So those are, you know, your Lightning wallets, your Nostr apps, and so on. And then the final layer, and I think this is where a lot of people fit in, is the social or the cultural layer, right? This is the educators like you, Ben, right? Or it's like the philosophers or the self-help folks like you, John, or the content creators, the content studios like you, Brandon, right? Or the storytellers like me, right? And this is where, and this layer is what brings people in to use those applications that benefit from that sound foundation. So and all of us have a role to play, maybe in more than one layer, right? You could be building an application, but it could also be a really good storyteller, right? So that's how I would tie all of this together.
I like it. I like it a lot. That's yeah. I mean, we all have our roles to play, and all of us will play a little role in somebody's understanding of Bitcoin, depending on where we meet them, and it's always very dependent on the individual. But yeah, it's great to see, and I'm glad to see the people that continue to stick around through these cycles. Yes, there's going to be people that come and go. Typically, the number go up crowd, but a lot of people end up finding something deeper by, again, conversing like groups like you gentlemen in various aspects. So with that, we are indeed going to do our final rotation here. And so, John, I'm going to toss it to you for the final round here and cue you up with the same question everybody got. Why are you bullish?
Awesome, guys. Well, it was really hard not to like just say everything of why I'm bullish already, because you guys were debating, and you know, we're all on the same wavelength here. So I think the main, just to it's kind of built on some of the stuff I was talking about earlier, but the main reason I'm bullish right now is because Bitcoin is providing that new model that makes the existing model obsolete that Buckminster Fuller talks about. So Buckminster Fuller, if you guys haven't heard the quote, says to change something, you never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. Right? So I think when a lot of us start learning about the way the monetary system works, the way the government works, the powers that be, the institutions, the corporatocracy or whatever, Monsanto and all the crazy shit going on, we tend to get very angry and we want to like rage against the machine and just be like, like why the hell is this going on? And especially if you are in a place where you're responsible for protecting people, for people you love, your family, and also you see your friends and your family being victimized in a lot of ways by the existing system, and it can be very disheartening. And there's real things are at stake. Obviously, it's like our time, our energy is being drained from us, right? So it's hard not to get angry about that. But what I see and what encouraged me about the Bitcoin world and the Bitcoin ethos is it's a place of action, and there are people of action who are involved in this movement, which is a powerful movement for individual freedom, for personal sovereignty and agency. And the beautiful thing is that not only are we raging against the machine and calling bullshit on the entire system, but we also have an alternate way of doing things. We have other solutions that we are actively promoting and building in our own way. So that's what is the most encouraging to me, and why I'm continue to be bullish, through the bear markets, through the ups and downs and price action and whatnot. Like, to me, it's always just like this solid hum of like buzzing freedom growth, because whether the price is up and down, we're still accumulating Bitcoin. We're still connecting the dots in the social network. We're still building out the application layer. The protocol layer is becoming more robust. And, we're just setting ourselves up for winning at the end of the day. And time is really on our side, because we've gotten to this point with basically nothing being in our favor. We're the complete underdogs, so we have nothing to lose, really, other than maybe our lives in the gulags. But as Eric Case might say. But yeah, and that, to me, it like comes back to, I talk a lot about the social layer as well, and that's one of the ways that I encourage people to get involved, as what Avi was saying, because we are all unique beasts. We have our own gifts. We have ways that we can contribute, and in a very real sense, this is like a message. This is a kind of like the gospel that's being shared to the world. So people are going to connect with different personalities. They're going to connect with different stories and different environments, personalities. So I encourage all of you guys to like find your community, find your niche. You're not going to get along with everyone in Bitcoin or all the Bitcoin enthusiasts, but you'll find a group of like-minded people and help each other grow. Like, do better in life and try to set higher goals for yourself, and then we'll all continue to maintain Western civilization into the future, hopefully.
Love it. I love it. I mean, the thing that resonates most with me again is building that community of like-minded people, the social connections, the you know, who do you surround yourself with, and the people that are driven to, in the absence of one of those communities already existing, bootstrapping it themselves. I love seeing that. I love seeing the people that are out there going, listen, this is what I want. I don't see it in front of me already, so screw it. I'll start from scratch. I'll start rallying the troops, and we're gonna build it out. We'll figure it out. And you know, what I've seen from this in a couple different respects. Like, we're doing a local market here in Calgary, and we're trying to build out a community and get together. And because of that, there's a number of things that I can now, you know, like relationships with people that I have where, you know, they have quality products or services or something, and I can support them locally with sats and know that it's a like-minded person that's doing something of quality, and I'm reciprocating with a quality sound money that won't steal from them later on and renege upon our transaction. And beyond that, you know, when it comes to things like Human Rights Foundation, the bringing together of different people in a community that are coming at it from different perspectives, but now that they're starting to commingle, all these interesting things are happening because, you know, you have a group of Bitcoin developers that are building what they think they want and Bitcoiners want, but then there's this other group of completely maligned people that are like, listen, we love this is amazing, but like, this is what we need. Can anybody build this for us? And all of a sudden you've got this intermingling of all these ideas and entirely new protocols and devices and applications and solutions stemming from this. And again, to Avi, because obviously you're very deep in the Nostr community, we're seeing the same. Like, HRF is making a big push for Nostr related stuff now. And so I saw that at the Global Bitcoin Summit down in Nashville just a few weeks back. And you're starting to see more and more of it, this censorship resistant social layer being pointed to by the Human Rights Foundation as, hey, like, is your country banning X? Is your country kicking you off the social media platform A, B through C through Z? Then, you know, look at this. This is something that may be a solution there, along with Bitcoin in your arsenal of tools to fight against tyranny. And so, again, this commingling of people where there's a common thread of freedom is so powerful, and I can't wait to see more of it. So enough of my rambling, though. I'll let Avi follow up with thoughts here, and then I'll go to Brandon after.
Yeah, I want to go back to something Jon said about what do we have to lose other than maybe our lives in the gulag. And even in that scenario, at that point, they have our cold dead bodies. They don't have our obedience, right? No, but all of that said, right? I think you know, there's that meme, right, about Bitcoiners. Our time preference is measured in centuries, and I take the view that you know, this revolution that I'm part of, I might not see the fruits of it in my lifetime, right? But I have a son, and he's probably going to have kids. I'm going to, you know, give him the same values, try to raise him with the same values that I've developed as being part of this movement, and maybe he'll see the benefits of it in his lifetime, or maybe his kids will see it. But that doesn't make me sad, because being part of this movement is just incredibly energizing, and it's fun, right? I'm having the time of my life, building these tools, meeting amazing folks, having incredible conversations, eating great food as well, and just building towards freedom and liberty, man.
Yeah, it's a hell of a ride. If the whole thing collapsed tomorrow, it would have been well worth it. I would not have wasted the past X number of years, both in the lessons learned and the relationships forged. Wouldn't trade it for the world. Absolutely. Brandon, I'll toss it to you. Any thoughts here?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I agree with everything you guys have all said on this. I mean, we're all coming from different parts of the world here right now, just connecting. And we all know, just coming into this, you know, we all have a similar ideology of the world as Bitcoiners, and we all, you know, think very similarly. And, you know, back to what Ben said, it's who you surround yourself with. It's just so motivating to see, you know, so many people building amazing things on things that I couldn't even imagine or fathom, you know, maybe 5-10 years ago, that's being done. And it's just a revolution that's, you know, honestly an honor to be a part of. And it's really inspiring just to be around all these different people, just fighting for freedom and seeing how, you know, people are going to come into the Bitcoin space. And, you know, it seems like no matter what, whenever somebody new comes into the space, they're energized, just like all of us here, and want to contribute. So I think it's just, you know, a net positive for everything in society going forward. And, you know, it just makes me extremely bullish to be here with you folks here, and just hearing all of the great things that are being built on a day in and day out basis. So yeah, I mean, just to echo everybody's point, I think it's just truly inspiring.
Awesome. Well, I love it. It was a fantastic topic. Jon, I don't know if you have any other final thought that you want to tap in before we put a bow on this one, but I'll give you the last word regardless.
Yeah, man, it's just beautiful to see that Bitcoin is aligning, you know, our incentives and actually in a distributed way, coordinating human action to all be focused on, you know, these similar goals and guiding our values into something that's actually healthy for the human race. And, you know, that's what I try to just keep front of mind, you know, in all these things, just to keep the broader perspective of things. Like Avi said, we got to extend our time horizons, and we're working for our kids and our kids' kids. But hey, why not have fun while you're at it? You know, what good is a revolution if it isn't any fun, right? So have fun living free. And you know, I think for Bitcoiners, you know, we should be the ones in our societies, in our cultures, in our towns, we should be the ones who are known for having the best parties, for being the best looking, for being the healthiest, throwing the best dinner parties, like having the best sex, having the most beautiful families, and everything like that. So that's what I believe. I think we're getting there. We've got some work to do, but you know, that's our goal.
Go make some Bitcoiner babies. That's what I took away from there. Well, gents, this has been fantastic. I've really enjoyed it. Before we finish up for the evening, I do want to just get a quick round of I like to take recommendations from people of things that they think anybody watching will find helpful in their journey as it relates to Bitcoin, or again, tangential topics. And so this could come in many different forms. It might be as simple as just like a piece of life advice that you've learned over the years. It might be a book that you read, a movie that you watched. If it's directly Bitcoin related, maybe it's an app that you tried, or a device that you really like, or a service that you've used. It can really take any form that you like, just something, a tidbit that you think people might enjoy if they go down that rabbit hole. And so I'll start here. I'm going to jump back to my original topic, and I'm going to recommend, if people haven't read it, check out The Sovereign Individual, because it was written in the mid 90s, and it's very, very prescient as it outlines what is likely to happen in an increasingly digital world, and how both the state and individuals under the state's jurisdiction will react to the freedom to both communicate instantly, globally, easier travel. And they even called out the fact that there will eventually be a form of digitized money that transcends legacy financial systems that will be kind of the final nail in the coffin. And so, some of the stuff said in there is, they really called it. And even as detailed for me as how they looked at, the push towards more local governance over time as a result of this. And when they looked at Canada, for instance, they wrote this in the 90s. And in the 90s, Quebec was trying to separate from Canada, or they were holding a referendum saying, we want to be the province to leave Canada and be our own nation. And so you would have thought that in this book written during that time, they'd say, Quebec will be the first one to separate from Canada, because they called Canada as one of the ones to most likely to kind of start breaking up first. But they didn't say that. They said that about Alberta, which is where I live. And in the past number of years, we've seen a major push from Alberta against the federal government, saying, like, we don't like your energy rules. We don't like how you're dealing with schooling or healthcare or whatever. And we even passed something called the Alberta Sovereignty Act, so that we can basically tell the federal government to go F themselves when they encroach too much. And there's a big push to be more and more sovereign. And so the writing is kind of on the wall here as to what would be the first province to pull the trigger if that were to come to fruition. And it's just very prescient of them to note that because Alberta had a lot of natural resources, they would be the ones most disenfranchised by kind of the socialist tendencies of the state, and thus be the first to want to push back against those tendencies and become more self-sovereign. So anyways, awesome read, The Sovereign Individual by James Dale Davidson and Lord William Rees-Mogg. You can find it on Amazon. It's solid. So check it out. Maybe since you just spoke, Jon, maybe I'll if there's anything that you're currently already on the wavelength of, do you have any recommendations, things that people should check out, anything that you think might be just interesting or helpful to people in general?
Yeah, I mean, I got a nice big list for you, but if the thing that comes top of mind right now, I guess, is I think back on like the past 6 months to a year, something that has really made an impact on me was recommended to me by Svetsky, and I highly recommend you guys grab a copy. The audiobook is amazing. It's called When the Lion Feeds by Wilbur Smith. It's an incredible book. It's written, it's nonfiction, or it's fiction, but it's written in kind of an autobiographical way about the frontier back in like the early 1900s of South Africa. And it traces basically this man's journey and upbringing from a child to when he's later on in his years and his ups and downs. And yeah, I really can't like describe it much better than if you guys can pick it up and read it, at least read the sample. And yeah, to me, it represents like a man's journey through life and what it's like to grapple with actual responsibility and self-ownership and agency in the real world. So if you want to understand, if you're a woman and want to understand the heart of a man, I think it's a great book to read and just to gain insight into what it's like. And then for men who want to kind of cultivate their masculinity and kind of see how, I think there are a lot of ways in which we're, as men in our society, and we're muzzled in a lot of ways, and maybe our natural environment isn't fully conducive to how we're meant to be living. So it's a good resource for you to let your imagination roam. And yeah,
Nice.
I highly recommend that.
I like it. How the line feeds is what it's called, right? When
the line feeds, yeah.
When the line feeds. Okay, awesome. Wilbur Smith, awesome, cool. All right, I'll toss to Brandon next. Again, any recommendation you may have, go ahead, man.
Yeah, I've actually been reading the 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene recently, and I found it on an audiobook. It's actually on Spotify if anybody has that. Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, obviously, you know, you don't necessarily need to use it to, you know, defeat your enemies or anything like that, but I just think it's like a real breakdown of human psychology, how it's really you know, how you can understand why people are ticking, you know, trying to avoid any, you know, potential mistakes just in your own life, and kind of go from there. It's interesting because a lot of these books that I read, you know, I've read, you know, some other dating books, you know, some other books related to manhood. So I'll have to check out yours that you recommended there, John. But a lot of these have a lot of the similar topics in there. It's just how it's presented, which I think is pretty interesting. And the 48 Laws of Power is one that I found that has literally just every chapter is something different. And it's a story relating back on history, how, you know, this could be applied into your daily life and the reason why people fell out of power or was able to be manipulated. So I think it's pretty interesting, and I think it's you know, something that will at least it's helped me open my eyes even more more so than Bitcoin has right now.
Nice, love it. All right, Avi, you're up finally. Any recommendation that you may have?
Yeah, I have a movie recommendation and just a general life recommendation after that. But the movie is My Dinner with Andre. It's a movie made in 1981. And the funny thing is, Ben, so we were having one of those big dinners in Prague, and I was sitting right across our good friend Andre Loha. And that's when so I'd seen this movie earlier, and then I was talking to Andre. I said, "Hey, this is My Dinner with Andre," and then I told him about it. He went and saw it, and he loved it. But it's basically a Bitcoin movie without it being a Bitcoin movie. So if anyone, it's available for, I think, for free on YouTube. And if anyone wants to watch it, just remember it's a slow-paced movie. But you're Bitcoiners, you like podcasts, so treat it like a podcast. It's just two guys sitting at dinner, talking about life, and it's remarkable that they had this kind of dialogue back in 1981. It's some of that stuff is so incredibly relevant to what's happening with our culture today. So highly recommend that. And then just in terms of a life recommendation is, you know, we do see with some Bitcoiners, not all, some of them, and people in the general freedom tech world, is a lot of their building or their motivation, right, that drives their action comes from fear or anger of the legacy system, right? There's something you hate about fiat, or there's something you fear about fiat, and that's why you're in this. You're running away from that into this. And I think my view is it's more constructive if you reframe that as running towards the bright orange light, right? You're not motivated by fear. You're inspired by hope, by you know, the hope for this happier place, right? This more peaceful, this more abundant place that you're building towards. So if you can reframe that thinking from running away from something rather to running towards that bright orange light, I think our revolution will, coming back to the revolution, will hasten, and you'll be happier doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. It echoes again earlier the point made by John. I'm trying to remember who the quote was from, but about building. Say it again.
Buckminster Fuller.
Yes.
Yeah, you want me to say the quote again?
Yeah, sure, if you can.
Yeah, I got it. I just want to read it, so I'm not. Yeah, you never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, Jeff Booth often echoes this same point. Like, you know, by fighting the existing system, you give it power. So build the future you want to see. Put your energy there rather than fighting the thing that you don't like. Put it towards building the thing that you want to see. And yeah, I love that messaging, and it's hard to remember all the time because you often want to, you know, scream at the existing system. But if you can recall it, it will save you a lot of time, effort, and heartache if you can just funnel your efforts to a more positive thing. So with that, gentlemen, we're going to round out. Thank you so much for being here, spending a Friday evening with me to get bullish. And of course, everybody that's watching, thank you for being here. Over the course of the episode, we've had damn near 3,000 people across various platforms tuning in. So thank you for being a part. Of course, like, sub, share, all that good stuff. But more importantly, make sure you seek out and find all these gentlemen and what they're up to. I've got some links for them down below. But of course, for those that are also on Nostr, be sure to find them there too, so that those social connections cannot be severed. But with that, we're going to round out. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. And of course, you're all welcome back anytime.
Thank you, Ben.
Awesome. Thanks for having us, buddy.
Yeah. Cheers, guys. Have a good weekend. Later.
Bitcoin, Ben.
All right. And everybody, thank you guys for being here. Everybody that's been in the chat, everybody that's been watching on Nostr, on YouTube, on X, on Rumble. Thank you guys for joining in and being a part of the show. Really, really do appreciate it. Of course, if you want, please do like, sub, share. Those things, they all help a lot, bolstering the show, getting more eyeballs in the room. If you want to help in another way, you can hit the previously mentioned sponsors in the show notes down below. And then more importantly, if you want to earn some sats and create an army of educated Bitcoiners, then there's a QR code on the screen right now. I mentioned it earlier in the show, but if you'd like to be an affiliate for Bitcoin Mentor, my team at bitcoinmentor.io, incredible educators that can help anybody through anything they need in their Bitcoin journey, whether it be learning about wallets, hardware, multisig, running a node, home mining as a hobbyist, you know, you name it, we can help you through it and make sure that you are up to snuff and secure. And more importantly, because a lot of you watching are already Bitcoiners and maybe have a setup, we can help you if you need to bolster it a little bit. But more importantly, there's going to be a lot of new people coming in the coming year, and they're going to need some hand-holding along the way if they want to kind of expedite themselves to the point where they are secure and confident. And so if you want to have a part in that and also earn some sats as you do, then go ahead, scan that QR code, become an affiliate of Bitcoin Mentor, and you will earn $21, not just for every referral, but for every single session that person goes on to book. So, you know, if they keep on booking sessions for more and more things and they just go on a learning spree, then you will also benefit from that, and you'll earn sats. You'll earn sound money by people getting a sound education. So I can't think of a better way to earn sats. Anyways, with that, I'm going to round out. Thank you guys so much for being here, and have a wonderful day or evening, wherever you may be. I'll see you guys next time for your daily session.
HODL the Bitcoin.